Coming up, a cancer comeback story. Powered by Breakthrough Care, we'll share how CAR-T therapy and doctors at the University of Kansas Cancer Center became Richard Hankins' last hope after his cancer kept coming back. Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. When cancer comes back, patients and their families face tough decisions. Richard Hankins was diagnosed with lymphoma, and when other treatments failed, his doctors referred him to the University of Kansas Cancer Center. We followed his journey through CAR-T cell therapy and what this treatment means for others diagnosed with blood cancers.
HBBroadcasting.com, and it's all the way live with Lakeside on DJHBBroadcasting.com.
Music is the heartbeat of Richard Hankins' life. Known around the world as DJ Hank, he owns an internet radio station and a radio broadcasting company, spinning the sounds of the 70s, 80s, and 90s for listeners everywhere.
1, 2, big poke.
But today, the music fades as Richard prepares for something far more serious, a PICC line placement for cancer treatment.
Get you uncovered here. All right.
When the cancer kept coming back, his doctors sent him to the University of Kansas Cancer Center.
Sooner or later, you're going to have to go to KU. They're a little bit better and more specialized in taking care of this.
Here, his care team recommended CAR-T cell therapy, a newer treatment that uses the patient's own cells to fight cancer.
Feel good getting the cells back, fight off all this other bad stuff.
CAR-T is a way of re-engineering a patient's white blood cells to recognize and fight cancer.
Got the goodies. You ready?
Weeks later, it was time to give Richard his re-engineered cancer-fighting cells back.
Just see how fast it's going in. It doesn't take long. It's almost empty.
Only weeks after CAR-T therapy, Richard says his strength is already starting to return.
It's coming back. I didn't have the energy. I can barely breathe. So now we're fighting to get all that out of my system, and I know that I will be back to 100%.
Clear communication from his care team made a complex process easier to understand.
They've been great, awesome. They're sending all the information to your My Chart and letting you know this is what we see and this is where we're going next and this is what we're going to do, which is very informative.
Now he's focused on finishing this fight and turning the volume back up on life.
Keep on going. Don't stop. You heard it from me, DJ Hank.
Blood and marrow transplant and cellular therapy expert Dr. Nasheen Ahmed and Dr. Ala Abdullah, clinical director of plasma cell disorder program with the Division of Hematologic Malignancies and Cellular Therapeutics at the University of Kansas Cancer Center. Thank you both for being here with us.
Thank you.
Good to have you. And joining us via Teams are Richard and his wife Stephanie. So good to have both of you. How are you? Well, we have one of you right now.
Yeah, just one.
Well, can you hear me okay, Richard?
Yeah, could you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, we'll see Stephanie here in just a moment. But Richard, I want to start with you because we were going to have you on back in December, but you had a setback. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, it's just processes that come back after a while. Sometimes it's not eliminated, or I'm not a doctor, but it's just some things just don't really get cleared up. Put it like that.
Well, we're going to talk to your doctors a little bit more just to kind of understand exactly what happened. And Dr. Med, tell us a little bit about Richard's cancer when he first came to see you, so we have a better understanding.
Yeah, Richard has been dealing with an aggressive lymphoma. He was diagnosed about 2 years before, roughly 2 years before he came and saw us. Initially, it was a low-grade type of lymphoma, got some chemotherapy. It didn't go away completely. In fact, it actually transformed into the aggressive type of lymphoma. So he got another round of another type of chemotherapy, or CHOP. And then it cleared for a bit, but within a year it was right back, and it was really affecting him. That's when his doctor sent him over to us to talk about CAR-T therapy, since this was, now we're talking around, this was about a year ago. CAR-T was approved for second-line diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, which is the type of lymphoma that he was dealing with at that time. It was affecting his health, like he couldn't breathe. It was, like nodules on his body as well as in his organs. So he was really sick. You just saw the process of CAR-T. We got him through the CAR-T. He did really well with it. So I'm really proud of you, Richard, for the way you handle all that CAR-T therapy. It was good, that's that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so he gets through that. So we'll kind of take this step by step. Dr. Abdallah, for viewers who may not understand it, how is CAR-T different from chemotherapy or immunotherapy? It's quite different, but explain
Absolutely.
how it works kind of in layman's terms.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of like the great days. We're talking about like for myeloma and also lymphoma and all blood cancers patients, which we kind of like have to understand. Chemotherapy, let's go a little bit step, like the chemotherapy that Dr. Nishan Ahmed talked about, is an old type of treatment that kills cancer. There is unspecific ways that it can kill the cancer, but unfortunately it causes collateral damages. Collateral damages could be like destroying the white blood cells, the blood, the platelets, increase your risk of infection, you lose your hair, you lose your weight, you get a little bit weaker. So it's an old treatment. Somehow some of it was very effective, we can say that. But now we're moving to the immunotherapy treatment. Now you're talking about CAR-T versus immunotherapy. Immunotherapy, generally, we found out that our immune system are strong enough to kill these cancer cells, whether it's directly or indirectly. And we found out that the immune system, whether it's your T cells or other types, can go ahead and kill the cancer cells, but it needs a little bit help. That's where the CAR-T cell happen here. The CAR-T cell is your own T cells. They take it out of your body. They engineer it, modify it. They put like a laser tag and then make millions of these T cells, of course with a small dose of chemotherapy, but going inside, all these million cells will be infused to the patient's body and will find the cancer and kill the cancer with cytokines, which is like bullets. It's like your own immune system. We just help it to kill the cancer cells. So why is it better in this case? Because the efficacy of this treatment is much better, and we're shifting toward that. The general category of immunotherapy is better than the traditional chemotherapy.
So Richard, when you were referred, what were you told about CAR-T therapy?
Just everything that they were saying about it. And I don't know. I just have different thoughts about the process. It's a great concept and idea, but when you look at the outcome, I'm looking at it different. I mean, that's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, it's a lot to get your head around, especially when you're talking about these type of therapies and you're going through different phases of this. Dr. Ahmed, when a patient's cancer keeps coming back after chemo, like what happened with Richard, how do you determine when it's time to look beyond standard treatments, CAR-T, and then beyond that? If that doesn't work, then you have to start with the next plan.
Yeah. So
in this case,
I do want to acknowledge that like when the cancer comes back right after CAR-T, the way it came back with Richard, which it can happen. Again, I just want to step back and say that when we talk about CAR-T therapies, and I'm just going to focus on lymphoma, the chances of curing it are, roughly speaking, in a range of around 50%. So 50% of patients going through this may never hear from the disease again. It's gone, it's cured, it's over. But then again, we still have a large proportion of patients, up to 50%, that could experience relapse. And most of the time when relapse happens, it will happen usually within the first 12 to 6 months, mostly within the first 6 months. And that's what we saw here. So what do we do next, right? That's the big question. What do we do next from here? The first thing we look for, again, because we know that there is, the immune system is a very strong system, and to be able to use that system to fight the cancer is really the way the field is moving. Like we've realized, especially like in Richard's case, where chemotherapy just barely worked for a couple of months and then it would come right back. We know that we have to do something different, like change the game. and stick with something related to the immune system. So with Richard, for example, we went to what we call bispecifics. Which is a class of drugs that also uses immune system. It uses T cells, which is your body's soldier cells to fight the cancers, and it tries to bring those soldier cells along near the lymphoma cells and make them fight. So like that. And Richard's still on that. But we do have, we realize this is where the field is. This is the gap in the field. This is where the next breakthrough needs to happen. Is where we need to get better therapies, better CAR-Ts, more clinical trials are in this space exactly because of this reason that we still see some patients relapsing after CAR-T.
So someone relapses, but then Dr. Abdallah, in many cases, CAR-T is very effective for patients when you're treating blood cancers that have failed other therapies. How so?
Well, yeah, that's a very great question, and I think we try as much as possible to understand. I think there's a lot of points here is that maybe it's because we have a great target. That's a very important thing, is that this is where the focus is that where's that target that we can focus on in this blood cancer, and that's where the T cells or the immunotherapy goes and attack it and have that most effectiveness. Number two is that we are seeing the deepest response, that the CAR-T cells, massively kills all the cancer cells and get it to the deeper remission. And that's also another idea to say that we're not having any residual cancers remaining there. And these are the two major reasons that believe to actually help out. Another theory is that the CAR-T cell doesn't die by itself like it's a one-time treatment and dies. There's also the philosophy that the CAR-T cell still works even by the time that the cancer is trying to come back again. It will attack it and try to keep it in remission as long as possible. So we think this effectiveness is really great, and as Dr. Ahmed, there's a lot of need to improve it. It's a really great technology, and we think that there's going to be a lot of improvement in the CAR-T cell and keeping it longer to stay in the body and the way that we're going to deliver the CAR-T cell. So there's a lot of methods that we think about it. So we're on the right track. That's number one. We always have to understand that. And we believe that this track is, we just have to kind of make it much better, make it longer, effective, easier, more accessible. There's a lot of things that we really need to work on, but I think we're on the right track.
Dr. Ahmed, you had some comments?
Yes, and Jessica, I was going to say that just to add to this, as our patients are living longer, sometimes we do see more chance of relapses. So, even say in Richard's case or other cases, we, some of our trials, most of our trials now take patients that were exposed to prior CAR-T. So, even now, if based on the PET scan or how things go, Richard, hopefully everything goes for the best, but we still have CAR-T trials as options. And other things, of course, but these are some of the big things that we didn't have, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that are now out there.
Well, Richard, on a little bit of an up note, I want to talk a little bit about your business. We got to see in that piece that we saw off the top of the show. Tell us a little bit about that and just how that's kept you going. I would imagine just having your fans' support out there has kind of kept your spirits up.
Oh, yeah, it keeps it going. It's on DJ HP Broadcasting, radio station, and DJ Hank Production, where we do weddings and things of that nature, and production and voice work and things like that. It keeps you going because it keeps your mind just evolved in things that need to be completed. So you wanting to get your energies and things up and going, strength, so you can complete it. It really does help to keep work involved in what you're doing, going through all the different types of treatment.
For sure. Well, be sure to ask your questions. You can use the chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can email the Medical News Network. That information is there on your screen. Dr. Ahmed, how important is referrals to a specialized cancer center when repeated treatments aren't working?
Extremely important. In this day and age, with all these newer therapies, every year we got many different therapies that are coming out there, and it's hard for a doctor in the community to keep track of every single thing, like all the, and especially all the trials that are coming out. And moreover, there are some specialized treatments, like we saw here, CAR-T therapy, sometimes even bispecific therapies that start off in academic centers. So you may end up at least getting an opinion or getting an idea of what's the latest and what's out there. That may be better than what people are used to for the most part.
Dr. Abdullah, is it just blood cancers that CAR T treats?
Yeah, that's a great question. For now, we have to say that. We started with acute leukemia, some types of acute leukemia. We moved to lymphoma. Now we're talking about myeloma. The CAR T is expanding very quickly. We think also other type of solid cancer is going to be included. We also, as me and Dr. Nasheen, Dr. Ahmed is talking about other neurological disorders, other autoimmune disease. So CAR T is expanding to other non-cancers. So we think this is actually a really great expansion of the cellular therapy from blood cancer. It was exclusively blood cancer to solid cancers, and in the future non-cancer that will be also included in treatment of CAR T cell.
I want to talk about the new research building, because we used to have to, those cells were collected off-site. We would literally take them and send them away to be re-engineered, but soon that will no longer be the case, right?
Absolutely, and we have to understand, like, there's a lot of reason for that. A lot of people are trying to do what we call an in-house CAR T manufacturing. That's one of the things. We're seeing also the idea of that, doing the CAR T cell manufacturer quickly. Not to forget about there's clinical trials about giving allo CAR T cell, which is T cells from patients who are healthier, and to give instead of taking from the actual patients who are who have the disease. So this could be also a big revolution. And now we are seeing also what we call the in vivo CAR T, which means like they're injecting an engineered virus, and they do the CAR T. It kind of produce the CAR T inside your body. So these are revolutionary things that we think it's going to be really important for the future.
And that's why the Cancer Center investing so much in the future of CAR T.
Absolutely, it's the right direction. It's going to be the future.
Dr. Ahmed, I want to ask about Richard now. So you kind of talked about it. Do you try a second CAR T, or what's the next line of defense for somebody who fails the first CAR T?
Yeah, and so as he's going through it right now, the first thing when Richard relapsed, we looked at all our clinical trials, and we actually did have a couple of clinical trials that involved a CAR T. Like there's the one that Dr. McGurk is a PI on, and that we was kind of like a KU, like we are leading this project. It's called a triple threat. In which it doesn't just target CD19, because all our traditional CARs and the one that Richard got targets CD19. So that's one target on the lymphoma cell, right? That's one target on the enemy cell. But now we have 3 targets, so 19, 20, 22 that target, so it's supposed to be more effective. We have that one, we still have that one, and we had another trial which looked at just training these T cells, training these soldier cells so that they recognize these cancer cells better. The only reason that Richard wasn't able to get on that is because there was, these are slot-based things. So if you have a patient that's already going through it, you need a little bit of time before you can put another patient on these trials, on the same trial. And it was best for Richard to go on what we call a bispecific glofitamab, and that's what we did. But we will be seeing how his PET scan does and see if he needs it. That's still on the table to get a second CAR T on a clinical trial. Also, there's a potential possibility of treatments like transplant, an allo transplant. Yes, we haven't talked about it in a lot of detail, but there's still things out there. There's still a lot that we can do for lymphoma.
What do patients need to know or ask their doctor that may want to find out more about CAR T, but it's not available at the current health system that they're at?
So I would say in general, my advice is that anybody that has lymphoma or myeloma and it has relapsed, like it's past the first line of treatment, they should ask to be referred for an opinion for CAR T, like right in the beginning. You don't want to wait till it's too late, because as you see, these cancers, they can get more and more resistant as time goes on. You don't want to wait till it's too late. So first relapse, you want to be seen, at least get an opinion about CAR T by a specialist center.
Dr. Abdullah, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, time is always very critical, and we always recommend that, highly recommend that. It's for the current situation of CAR T manufacturing, it takes about a month, the average, to get the CAR T cell and evaluation, insurance, etc. So you want to be referred earlier. It's always recommended. Unfortunately, CAR T is not available for all centers. So that's why we're very happy. We're glad that KU is one of the major centers that is in the middle of the state, that can assist and help, other centers to kind of be for these patients for evaluation and referred for the CAR T cells. So we always highly recommend, that to be actually done earlier in order to kind of like get these evaluation and also build that relationship with the patients and also with the other cancer centers.
Richard, I want to ask you maybe your advice for other people. Just what were the biggest challenges that you faced physically and emotionally, and what would you say for somebody who might be facing similar challenges?
Just do what the doctors are saying early, really getting on it early and letting them know all the symptoms and how are you feeling. A lot of times I really wasn't feeling too good, and so they were understanding what my body was feeling.
Well, we want to get to some questions from our viewers this morning. We have a question from Mary. And Dr. Abdullah, why isn't CAR T therapy offered at more places?
Yeah, I think that's another question, is that we have to understand how the structure of the CAR T cells. It's not like, we see a patient, we evaluate the patient, we decided the patient have to get CAR T cell. There's a big infrastructure. There's a big team behind that. It comes from, you have really great number of physicians that are specialized in that. You also have to have our supportive care team as well, the nurse practitioners, the nurses, the pharmacists, and also don't forget you have to have also physicians from other specialty, whether it's pulmonary critical care, and also we have a great relationship with our neurologists. And these are all important because the side effects that could come from the CAR T cell and how to manage these side effects in case and to manage the expectation. We don't want patients to have any mortality or die from the CAR T cell. The goal is to cure the cancer and not cause any problems in that regard. So that's one of the major reasons why a lot of centers, they don't have access to the CAR T cell, is that they don't have, unfortunately, the infrastructure that can actually deliver safely the CAR T cell.
Jean wants to know, in general, how effective percentage-wise is it in curing the targeted cancer?
So I'll take that. So if it's lymphoma, in general, I would say between 40 to 50% would be the cure, depending on what type of lymphoma. In myeloma, actually, the numbers are a lot better. I wouldn't use the word cure yet, but we're really talking about cure. And I know Dr. Abdullah is here, can talk more about myeloma, but we see responses in myeloma in around 95% patients. Most of them are pretty deep responses. Up to 60% of them will retain those responses, and that is like pretty amazing, at least in the myeloma field. That has not been heard of before.
Jeremy has a question for Richard. How did you keep your spirits up having to go through this so many times?
Yeah, through my faith. Just really actually believing that you're healed. And just it's I don't know about anybody else, but I just got to say, I truly believe that I'm healed, and I don't worry about anything else. That's just the bottom line.
Jeff has a question. Dr. Abdullah, what are the cons to CAR T therapy? Like, what are the drawbacks?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the cancers, So CAR T cell, unfortunately, is not made for all patients. That's one of the negativities about it, And we always try to provide it because we need things like, patients have a good performance status, have a caregiver. I think initially we were always worried about the type of side effects that these patients with CAR T cell will have initially, but now we're doing much better and we have great management for the side effects. The long-term side effects, I think we're still learning a little bit about it. It's not very massive or aggressive, but it doesn't kind of like, well, we'll call it the benefit outweigh the risk, So if I want to tell my blood cancer patients, a lymphoma and a myeloma, I prefer, not to receive the CAR T cell because of a slow risk of a second cancer or GI symptoms. It's very minimum comparing to how much the treatment in a higher percentage can keep you in remission longer. So I will say that CAR T cell for the right patients is completely like more beneficial than not giving it to them.
Dr. Abdullah, what's the biggest takeaway from this conversation today?
Absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway about that cellular therapy, you know, me and Dr. Ahmed talks about that, like, have evolved a lot, you know, for the last 10 years, you know, and the evolution coming from a very rare cancer called acute lymphocytic leukemia, then it moved to lymphoma, and many types of lymphomas, by the way, and then myeloma, and now we're going to see it going to solid cancer. This revolutionizing of the CAR T cell that was moving from a last option of therapy, it's moving now to earlier relapse and now newly diagnosed, that it shows exactly how effective this treatment is. We're moving to a beautiful direction of that. Our cancer center is doing great in terms of like focusing on investing for the future for the CAR T cell, because I don't think this is only going to be restricted to blood cancer. It will be also to solid cancers. I think the biggest takeaway is that we have to learn more about the CAR T cell. We have our own Congress, the ICT Congress, that we focus on CAR T cell and cellular therapy that we host here at KU, and we're hoping that we see our oncologist colleague and other staff to kind of join us to kind of learn more about the CAR T cell and the newer updates about it.
You've named a lot of things, but what's like the one thing you could pinpoint that really excites you the most about what's coming?
I think what's coming right now is that moving the CAR T cell, well, I will be honest with you, is what I call the in vivo CAR T cell, is that you don't need to actually take the T cells out of your body, engineer it, and send it back. You know, I think you just can do the CAR T cell while the patient's giving injection, and I think that will help to expand the CAR T cell to more patients.
Same question to you. What excites you the most?
Well, I'm excited the way the field is growing. Like, as we already know that we've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. So what excites me is the scientific advancements with the new CARs that are coming, some of which Dr. Abdullah mentioned already. What also excites me is that we can probably get these more easily available in the community. And there's a lot of effort going behind the scenes on that, because many patients, I mean, only 20% of patients that are eligible for CAR T are actually able to get it. And we cannot forget that. We have to remember that. Many patients need this treatment and just have not either heard of it or don't understand it enough. So that's the word that I want to get out there today.
All right, Richard, just final thoughts from you. I just want to know, what is the biggest takeaway from your story? What do you want somebody watching to really get from you?
Well, just stay strong and believing and having your faith, and going through all the treatments that the doctors have. Listen to them and let them know how you're actually feeling and doing throughout the process.
Well, we really appreciate you sharing your story with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our guests for being with us. Thank you to our viewers for being with us today. And tomorrow we will not be airing all things brain health. Instead, join us for an exciting announcement. Kansas City is set to become a national leader in next-generation medicine to diagnose and treat cancer, neurological disorders, and other diseases. We will have a team of specialists here to explain why and how this preferred therapy, which has been available for certain cancers, will now be more widely available to children and adults in the treatment of more diseases. The collaboration among healthcare leaders places Kansas City at the forefront of a new era in personalized care and reinforces the region's growing role as a destination for medical innovation. That is tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a great day.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now everywhere podcasts are available.